Hey, what's up guys? Today we're working on a 2015 Subaru Legacy. We're doing rear brake pads and rear rotors. This model has the electronic parking brake, so I'm going to kind of show you how to go through the reset procedure on this electronic parking brake so you don't do any kind of damage to the parking brake module or actuator. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get the wheel off. This is a 19mm lug nut on here. I am using my impact here, so I'm going to get it off and we'll come back when I got the wheel off. Alright, so I got the wheel off. Don't mind the grass cutting going on behind me. I got the wheel off. Next thing we need to do is we need to get the caliper off. So we're gonna got a bolt here and you got another one right here. These are going to be a 7mm Allen, and you're just going to pop this little cap off like this, and then the 7mm Allen head is inside there. And they're going to take these two off. There's one here, one at the bottom. Alright, so I got those loose. One thing I didn't mention is this little guy right here. This little bracket, little clip thing, just going to pop out of there like this. Just like that. I'm going to set that to the side because I am going to reuse that. And then next thing you need to do to get the caliper off is you need to unplug the module right here. Just pull that little rubber boot off. Let's try to be a little easy with them. There we go. It's unplugged like that. So I got it unplugged. Now this caliper is just going to slide right off there. Okay, it's off there. I'm gonna go ahead and get our caliper bracket off. I'll be right back. To get the caliper bracket off, it's a 14mm. You got a bolt here, and you got a bolt down here. You need to get those two off. Again, they're 14mm. All right, so I got our caliper bracket off. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do is I am going to get this rotor off, and to do that I'm going to take this bolt here, get it started. Use this one on the other side, so it might be stripped. I might need to get a different one. Let me grab a different one. I'll be right back. Alright, so I got our bolt in there. This is a 14mm. I'm going to drive this in. Just going to pull our rotor. Rotor's nice and loose now, so I'm just going to pop the rotor off. Okay, rotor's off. Next step is going to be caliper. So you can see this is the parking brake actuator. So we need to get this off. So we're going to take this off. So you're going to have an Allen head bolt here, and you're going to have another one back in the back. Sorry if you can't see, the sunlight's kind of in a weird spot, but it's back here. The size of this is going to be a 5 5mm. So I'm going to put that there. Come back and get my impact. Okay, there's one. There's two. Set those down. This is just going to work its way off. Just gonna jiggle it. You just gotta jiggle a little bit, it'll come off there. Okay, we got it off there. So now what we need to do is to set that down, and we're gonna spin this. So these need to go, the orientation So the best way to do this is if you spin it by hand, you're going to feel it stop by hand. It's going to kind of run into some resistance. That's it spinning out, because the way these work is there's basically a little screw in here inside the caliper that when the electronic parking brake is engaged, it spins this, and it basically spins the screw down, and it puts pressure onto the caliper. So in order to reset these, we need to spin this all the way back out into factory position. So you can see I'm doing the passenger side. The orientation is going to be clockwise. If you have the caliper sitting like this, I'm just spinning it by hand until it stops. Another rule of thumb is to watch this piston in here. If you watch the caliper piston and you see it pushing out while you're doing this, then you're going the wrong way. So you need to make sure that it's not pushing out. So there, I spun it by hand and it stopped. So it's back in the factory position. I'm gonna flip our caliper over. So I'm gonna set it right here. Okay. Now all you need to do is press this caliper in just like you would normally. Let me go grab this. Okay, so I'm using my C-channel vice grips. I'm just going to put them on there, and I'm just going to push this caliper piston in. It's going to go in just like a normal piston. See how it's pushing in? So you're either going to push it all the way back in until it's all the way in how it should be, flush with the outer part of the caliper here, and then that's it. So I got the piston pushed in. I've got our actuator set back on here. I'm going to go ahead and bolt it back up, and I'm going to take these slide pins here out, and I'm going to grease the inside of them so they can move how they should. And take these out. I'm going to put some grease in them, put them back in. We're going to reinstall our rotor, reinstall our caliper bracket, put our brake pads in, put our brake grease on the caliper and the pad, bolt our caliper back up, plug it back in, and she's done. Be back. Alright, we got everything greased, lubed, got my bolts back in my actuator, I got my caliper bracket back on with the new brake pads. Make sure my bolts are in, they're tight. Now I'm going to go ahead and set my caliper back on here. First I'm going to grease up the inside of it. I'm going to use my Permatex brake lube. I'm just going to get lubed up in here. I like putting it on here instead of on the brake pad like a lot of people do, so it doesn't look, it doesn't make as much of a mess. I'm going to get some on the back side of this pad. Okay, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and set my caliper back on. I'm going to make sure that I plug my wire back in. And when I'm done, I'm going to go in the car and I'm going to test the parking brake. I'm going to pump up the brakes and make sure everything works as it should. And that would be it. And then it's a done deal. Alright, so I got everything back together. I got my clip reinstalled. I got my bolts in. They were lubed. I got my caps back on. Parking brake is plugged back in. Wire's tight. One thing you do need to pay attention to on these pads, there is a different orientation. There is an inboard or an outboard. The outboard does not have this little spring. The inboard does, so you need to make sure that this spring is on the inboard pad, which is the inside pad. Other than that, this job is done. I'm going to go in, I'm going to test everything like I said. I'm going to test the parking brake. I'm going to make sure I pump the brakes real good since I just redid the brakes, and take it for a test drive and she'll be good. If you like this video and you want to see more repairs like this, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one.